To all my Everything Culture listeners, we have a very special guest with us today. I am super excited to interview this young, gifted, talented young woman from Detroit, Michigan. She is the executive producer, writer, and lead actress of the YouTube web series Growing Back, Miss Audrey Jai. Hello, sis. How are you?
Hey girl, I'm good. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. I am doing well. I'm very blessed to have you with us. Super excited for this interview, and I hope that you are too. And we just want to go ahead and get started to ask you the questions that everybody's been waiting to ask and all of that good stuff.
All right, let's do it. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So, um, let's start off with this. I want to begin by asking you about your background. As I mentioned previously, you're from Detroit, Michigan, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Detroit, what up though? If I don't say what up though, then they're gonna be like, oh, she ain't real. So
Okay.
I gotta say what up though to everybody from the D, repping the east side. So y'all know I'm legit,
All right. So that's your thing. What up, though? Okay.
Yeah.
That. I've never visited Detroit, Michigan, ever, but they'll probably know that I'm not from there if I tried it. So, but anyway, can you tell us what it was like growing up in Detroit and what led up to your becoming interested in, I want to say, the liberal arts, writing, producing, and acting, all of that?
Growing up in Detroit was cool. It was honestly really fun. I had a really fun childhood. I have a huge family, so there's a million of us cousins, so we were always together, always just doing what cousins do, riding bikes and playing games, and just a great experience, living in Detroit. I mean, of course, people talk about the crime in Detroit and stuff like that, but I remember riding my bike to the library with my dad, and I remember stopping and getting Chinese food. My best friend, her parents owned a Chinese food restaurant, so we would ride our bikes to the Chinese food spot, get free food, and hang out. And those are the memories that I have of Detroit. Very community oriented place. I don't have any. Y'all, that's my dog. He want to be in the interview too. Hold on 1 second.
I want to know what the dog's name is. She had to step away really quick to make sure that her dog is situated, and he could have been on the interview as well, but it's okay. Again, we're really excited to have Audrey Jai here because she is, like I said before, an up and coming new talent that we definitely want to highlight, and I think it's super important to do so, especially in the field of the arts, and in particular because we don't get a lot of there's not a lot of spaces to be able to highlight those, especially in the African American community who are up and coming and in the arts. So again, we're really excited to have her. I think she's back and ready.
I'm back. I'm sorry. My dog is like so crazy. Like he'll sit there and he's quiet forever, and then out of nowhere he's like, I want to be in an interview too. So his name is Cleveland. If you guys, yes. So if you check out my YouTube, he's probably in there. I'm probably holding him.
Super cute dog. Super.
Thank you.
But we're glad you too, Cleveland.
Very spoiled dog. But yeah, Detroit was a great place growing up. As far as the arts, my mom and I kind of have this chicken versus the egg conversation, like which came first, were you a writer first or were you an actor first? And she said that like I was two, standing up and giving shows and telling people, oh, I'm gonna do this, and repeating movies, learning movie lines very early. So I come from a very artistic family, but most of the people in my family, they're singers. I'm kind of I can kind of get by singer.
Okay.
Ain't nobody gonna buy my album singer. But if you need me to do a show and do a little singing kind of singer,
right.
I'm kind of that kind of singer, but I come from like legit singers. My mom is the best soprano I've ever heard in my life, and I will stand by that. She's super strong with this head voice that's insane. She's amazing. So the arts was always in my life, but I think a lot of that came from people seeing it and wanting to cultivate it. My grandfather, who was an amazing man, would take me to plays very early on. They kind of noticed that that was something that I was gravitating to. So whatever came into town, he bought a ticket and he would take me. And I remember being 5 and 6 going to plays and, you know, going to see different arts organization, even within the Detroit community, not just like Broadway coming to Detroit, but just he would take me all over the city just to see work. And then, you know, whatever opportunities were available for me to be on stage, my parents were always 110% for it. So, you know, as far as acting, I've been acting for a very long time. And then when I got old enough to write, that's when I started writing. I think I won my first little contest in 3rd grade. They had this regional thing about writing a poem, and I wrote this poem and it got first place, and I hit it. You know, that was something with me. It's like I was always very afraid to share my work. You know, me sharing my work is a big thing. But yeah, this has always been a part of my life. Acted all the way up through college, got to college and studied theater at Michigan State University. Studied abroad, studied theater there in London. Lots of amazing training there. I think that's where my eyes were really open to how big the world is and, you know, how much is out there. And I learned some of the most amazing things over there. You know, people always have this conversation about, you know, oh, these British actors are coming over here and they're taking all of the black roles. And I'm kind of like, yeah, the training over there is like amazing, you know. So
right,
yeah, so that has a little bit to do with it, you know, at least in my opinion. You know, I'm not saying that it's not a problem, but I'm saying, y'all, the training, I mean, just in 3 months I was there for a summer, like it completely changed my whole approach to acting and the way I thought about it. If anything, well, really it validated how I felt and what I felt it meant to be an actor. So amazing. Graduated from Michigan State, and I started working for a youth arts organization in the city called Mosaic Youth Theater of Detroit. Big ups to everybody there. Love them. I started off as just a program coordinator, and then I ended up working as the assistant director of acting for their main stage acting programs. Best time of my life, you know, cultivating young gifts, youth development through the arts. I learned so much. They hire working actors, they hire teaching artists, you know, so being able to be integrated into the Detroit community by Mosaic, you know, by my friend who actually called me, was like, just random, was like, you need a job? I'm like, yeah, you know, so he's the one who got me connected. And these are lifetime relationships. That was probably 12 years ago. And these people are still very much in my life, still love them. And that's where I started working within Detroit, left Detroit and went to Cleveland. And I started working for an African-American theater in Cleveland called Karamu or Karamu. There was always an argument within the building. What is it called? To this day, we still don't know. Started working for them as the, so I went in to just interview for a program coordinator position. I started asking a bunch of questions. I'm very inquisitive. That's just me. You know, if a light bulb goes off, I'll just, well, what about this? What about that? And then finally, the woman who was in the position that was interviewing me was like, listen, we looking for somebody to replace me. You need to come in and interview it. So I interviewed for that position, fresh in the city. I had just got to Cleveland and I ended up getting that position. I know God, this is a God thing. I am very much so a believer in God. Worked for them. And I also acted within the Cleveland community as well. Did a couple shows in Cleveland. Amazing place. You know, again, it's like one of those places where people wouldn't assume that there's work, but there's tons of work in Cleveland. There's a great arts community there. There's a lot of love there in the city of Cleveland. As far as the arts community, that's my story. I don't have any other thing to report. started working there, and then I stopped and I did a little pivot. Okay. And this makes sense. This is why I'm sharing this. It's going to make sense. I promise you. It's like a preacher. It's like, listen, just stick with me.
Right. Stay with me.
Stay with me. So I started going to this church in the city of Cleveland, and they were doing some major things for the community. Like, they was giving out shoes and backpacks, and they still do this. Like, they was turning the city out. Like, they were just really doing what I'm like, okay, yeah, this is what a church is supposed to be doing. And I call myself volunteering for one of the locations. And again, I get to do what I'm doing. I'm asking questions. And the campus pastor was like, I'm looking for an office admin. I think it's you. You know, I need somebody to help me run this office so I can do ministry. And I said, but I'm an actor. I'm doing this. She said, I think it's you. Go to the interview, get the job. I'm there for 6 months at that location on the west side, because the church has 6 different locations because it's necessary. Each location you could go get food, you can get counseling services. Like, when you say purpose, like purpose for real, you know, otherwise I'm like, so I'm leaving acting. This is something you just heard me say, that this stuff I've been doing all my life, to go work for them. Like, obviously they're doing something, being a part of the community and community arts and community activation, being for the community is something that's really important to me. Even to this day, me and Jen, we'll talk more about that later, we were producing a variety show. It was her baby, and she asked me to come on, and I was like, gladly. I'll stand there and hand out raffle tickets, because this is where my heart is. But we had a variety show where artists within the Chicago area would come and do their thing, and whatever money we raise will go to a different organization. So that's my heart is very much so with the community. I'm working there for 6 months at this church, at this West Side location. It's a bunch of employees, it's a bunch of members, and I get a call from the pastor's office, and they said, the pastor wants to see you. I'm thinking, like, what did I do? I'm thinking through some of the stuff I did. I'm like, how much trouble am I in? Because I'm like,
to the principal's office.
Yeah, like, how did he even know I work here, So long story short, they're looking for an executive admin for him. I go up for the position and I get it. Wow. So I'm working, again, new to this church, brand new. I'm working as the pastor's executive assistant. Wow. And that is where I start to write Growing Back.
Wow. Okay.
So at the time,
kind of like divine intervention. I mean, it's just, God was just opening doors after doors after doors. And this is in Cleveland, right?
This is in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. Insane, right? So I get the idea, that part of the idea for Growing Back. And we ended up leaving. I had a partner at the time. That was part of the reason why we were bouncing. I was married. We were bouncing from city to city. He is brilliant. He's a brilliant man. He's super smart. And he would get promoted every 2 years, and we would pick up and we would leave. And I gladly left because he's just that brilliant. I was happy to support him. Left Cleveland, went to Richmond, and in Richmond is where I started writing this story about this girl who worked for this online only church. Because in my mind, I'm like, why aren't churches online only? I don't understand why this is not a thing. It just made so much sense to me. And that was back in like 2015, right? Insane.
Visions about 2020, actually.
Don't put that on me, y'all. I knew nothing about COVID, okay? Don't be DMing me, blaming me for no COVID, because I ain't know nothing about no COVID.
It was you, but no, that's awesome.
It was not me. So I'm writing this story in Richmond, and Richmond is where I decided to go back to school. I started working on an MA in creative writing with a concentration in screenwriting. I ended up leaving the program because I didn't think after like maybe a year or so, I was like, okay, I don't need this. I don't know if I need to spend the money for this. I need experience is what I kept saying to myself. Like, I just need experience. I need to just keep writing. I need to keep honing in on the techniques that I have learned. And yeah, I didn't feel the need to finish that. Moved from Richmond back to Detroit. And in Detroit, I went back to Mosaic, and I was just really honestly just focusing on writing. I was writing that, and I was writing a couple ideas. I'm always writing. And then my ex and I, we got a divorce. In comes a story about a girl who is going through a divorce. And I had these two separate stories. And then out of nowhere, it was like, wait a minute, this is the same story. Like, this is the same thing. So that's how growing back became a thing. It was two different, it was two different stories. And then it just kind of like had this light bulb moment, like, no, this is the same story. This is where she works. This is what she does as she's going through what she's going through, you know, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such an amazing story. Such an amazing background. And okay, so, you know, I have to ask you, since your mother is musically inclined, who did you meet? I mean, I just kind of want to deviate just a little bit, because I'm super, you know, I'm really into music. I'm really into old school Motown, all of that. So I just want to know, who did you get to, I know you got to meet a few.
Yeah, but you know what? That don't even like it's like neither here nor there for me. So another part of my story is I grew up at Perfecting Church. Pastor Marvin Winans is the right, you know, her face is like, yeah. Pastor Marvin Winans, he's the older brother of BBCC Winans. His niece is now on Greenleaf.
Yes, and I love her on there. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yeah, we were in the same youth department, you know. Wow. I'm sure she doesn't remember me, but you know, everybody would come through there. Whitney has come through the church, and Missy Elliott, and the one day Stevie Wonder was there. God knew not to have me there, because I might have lost my mind, because Stevie Wonder is my favorite. I think he's the only person, if I ever met, I would be moved by.
Brilliant.
Yeah, he's my all-time favorite. Who else? I think it would be easier if you asked me if I've met these people, because I mean, even with working with Mosaic, we opened for Senator Obama at the time.
Okay.
It was Senator Obama.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, he was running or something. So many people. Mm-hmm. You know, even here in Chicago, doing work throughout Chicago, you know, I've been on a lot of sets and I've met a lot of people, or even just bopping around throughout the city. It's like, oh, hey, you know, I love your work. Keep moving. You know, you would have to ask me if I've met these people.
Right.
You know, for me to remember, I met this person. Yeah, I met this person.
I had to ask if, you know, Smokey Robinson or somebody.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Kicked it at the house. I don't know, but.
Definitely Smokey Robinson at Mosaic. You know, he came to a show or something, or a rehearsal or something. Mm-hmm. Definitely Smokey Robinson. Martha Reeves, Aretha Franklin, man. You could see her, in Detroit, you would see her just like hanging out, you know, and she was just the nicest diva, you know. She was very much so a woman of power, but she was just kind of, you know, like an auntie grandma, you know, type of personality. So yeah, so she was very kind. Yeah, lots of Detroit history, especially again with working with Mosaic, and then with going to the church that I went to. So you see a lot of people. You know, these are my pastors, my old pastors, my mom's pastors' friends. You know, so
right. Yeah. Well, it definitely sounds like you had an exciting childhood and just growing up in the Detroit, Michigan. It just seems like you just really you were built for this type of work that you're doing currently, and just how everything was orchestrated with you going to Cleveland and becoming a member of this church, and then being promoted, and how then you merged the two stories you were writing into one. It was all divinely orchestrated. So that is really, really a really great testimony. really great testimony. So I really want to go get into this YouTube series, web
Hey.
series, Growing Back. And it's funny because I'm friends with Martin Davis on Facebook.
Okay.
Yes, I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he posted episode 1 on Facebook. And so I was very interested because number one, I had a Facebook friend who was acting on this web series, and then 2, he posted you, and you're the sister from Detroit, Michigan, and you're executive producing and writing and acting in the web series. So I was intrigued off top. So I went to the YouTube and I viewed episode 1. I really enjoyed it. Then I viewed episode 2, and I thoroughly enjoyed episode 2. I thought it was funny. There was a scene where you're going to counseling with your then husband, and I believe his name is Brendan on the web series, and you're Chase. So you play Chase. You're the lead actress, and it just the way that it was orchestrated, that scene where you all are, you're like, hey, well, anyway, people will have to go to the episode and see it, but it was just extremely funny, and I thought that scene was just so brilliant, and I was on the floor rolling. But I do want you to speak a little bit about, or a lot about, the motivation behind the web series, and how you came up with the storyline. You did mention that you had been married, and in the web series, Chase is married, and there's some things that she goes through, and things that she is exposed to. And you mentioned in the beginning of episode 1 that this isn't a coming of age story, but it's really you kind of growing backwards, or growing back, I should say. And you can kind of explain what that means. But really tell us about what the motivation behind growing back was. And you did kind of talk a little bit about it, but if you can go a little bit more in depth about the storyline and what the inspiration was.
So the storyline definitely was inspired by me working for that church and me going through a divorce. Working for the church is where the humor and the light comes from. You know, even Pastor Skip, who you guys will meet in episode 3, he'll do more than you'll just see him. The team of elders at that church, they weren't churched. You know, they weren't the typical, long skirts, and, they were just not that. They were jeans and t-shirts. They were, hey, listen, look, let's check this out. They were really cool people. People you
kind of a little bit more relatable than
super relatable, super duper relatable. And it made my experience there a great experience. And it was like, I need to find a way to, that's with me when it comes to writing something. When I have a good experience, when I have a bad experience, if it's something that's like, man, this needs to live, that's why I always say, my friends know when I say this needs to live, they're like, oh man, she gonna write about it. This gonna be on something. Yeah, like when I'm inspired like that. So that's my experience and my time there. The things that you'll see, there's a scene that you'll see in the next one that's pretty funny. It came from there, it came from there. And then as far as Chase going through this journey where she, in a sense, has to kind of grow back, I think it was very, very important for me to show a Black woman who internalizes. I think that we don't get to do that a lot on screen. We just don't. There is a lot of power in us. There's a lot of pop off and snap. there's a lot of strength in us. And I love that about us. I love that we're so quick with it. I love that, you know, we are going to stand up and say how we feel and voice our opinions. I love that. But you also can't leave out the fact that we internalize too, that we feel too. And there are some of us who just don't pop off. There are some of us who go inward and get lost in there until finally something pulls us out, just like any other human being can, just like you see white women do on screen. You know, they have these beautiful moments where they're internalizing and they're going on this journey, and you're kind of searching for where they are in their minds because they don't know where they are in their minds. And I don't think that we don't get to do that enough. I had a conversation about Kerry Washington's character in Little Fires Everywhere. And I was so upset because someone said, well, a Black woman wouldn't do that. And I said, well, what does that mean? What does that even mean? I said, everything about her journey, every situation that she got into, she ran from it.
Right.
So I don't really, in the moments where she decided to stick up for herself, it was like, yes, she's finding her voice, you know, but that's not a part of her character. It is in her to run. She got pregnant by somebody else's baby that they paid for. She ran.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. And I do. And I'm glad that you are bringing forth this dialogue, because I have conversations all the time about the caricatures that are placed in film or represented in film as it relates to Black women, how we always have to be strong and like a superhero, and we never have the time to self-reflect. We always have to be on, and we always have to be on level 10 for some reason. And so I'm really glad that we're having this type of dialogue, and that there are variations to Black women and our personality and our characteristic traits and our temperament and all of that.
Yeah, you know, we say it all the time. We are not a monolith, you know, and I think it's important for us to hear each other say that too. You know, listen to your sister say, we're not a monolith. So if her response is not the way that you will respond or the normal response, that does not mean it's not authentic to the culture. And I think that we need to show this more. You know, I think it's the same scenario when there isn't a lot of, you know, we got Whitley Gilbert now, and we got Tony Childs, and I hear that Molly is in that same realm. And we had what's her name on Living Single?
Sinclair. Was it Sinclair?
No, Regine. Yep, she's the one who likes all the money. She's the bougie one, the bougie. So we have all of this variety of bougie Black girl. Mm-hmm. Why? Because somebody took the risk to say, hey, guess what? Black girls come from rich families too. Mm. You know, Black girls, they grew up with daddies with money too. Mm-hmm. You know, so I think that this is the same thing. You know, right now, this variation of Black woman, it stands out because there isn't a lot of them. You know we talked a little bit about Insecure, and there was this big strong pause that I could tell that Insecure is your jam. I haven't
yes. And it is.
I can tell it's your jam, because when I said that I have not watched it yet. I don't have anything. I love Issa Rae. I love her so much. I've seen her movies. I'm an original Awkward Black Girl watcher. I was down when the campaign started and it was only 2 episodes, and she's like, give me some money and we're going to do number 3, you know. I'm old school Issa Rae lover. You know, I just have not gotten around to watching Insecure yet. Yeah. Y'all, when I said this, she paused and I said, ooh, I just said a cuss word about her show. I haven't made it yet, but...
And it's okay. And you know what? To be quite honest with you, it did actually take me a whole year to get into it. Actually, I didn't begin. I didn't start from the beginning being a huge Insecure fan. And one day I binge watched it and just fell in love with it. And so now when people tell me No, I've never watched it. I'm in such awe. Um, because it really is a good show. But yes.
No, I believe it. I just haven't gotten there yet. I haven't gotten around to it yet. And I've been watching, you know, a lot of nerdy things as I tend to do.
Well, you
Was it my time?
going on too, Miss Audrey. You do. I mean, you're executive producing and writing and acting, and you're doing a lot. So I'll give you a pass.
Thank you so much. The next time we circle back, though, I know that pass is going to disintegrate, so I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, because next time, I don't think I might be able to give you that pass. But
I'm gonna at least be through season 1 by then.
Okay,
I can commit to that.
You got a deal. All right.
No, but I mean, it's a Black woman that we need to see, you know, and that was one of the things that was very important to me, as far as growing back, showing someone who, making it feel like you're seeing this internal journey. You're seeing what she's saying, like the therapist scene is like, okay, this is how she digested this situation. This is how she interpreted this situation. And as the show continues on, you'll see more of that. And the tone of it will change as she changes. You know, her feelings will dictate how, you know, things look and how they feel. So,
Right.
Yeah, I think I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
And like I said, I'm very, very impressed by episode 1 and 2. So I'm really excited to see episode 3. And then I was also really impressed by the amount of talent represented in the series. Curious about, you know, how you chose, how the cast was chosen. Are these actual friends of yours? You know, it does appear that you have some chemistry outside of working on growing back with some of these new talents. And so I just want to kind of get your perspective on how you chose the casting, and what is there any type of symbolism behind who you chose?
So again, this is one of those God moments again. I was in class with Jen, who plays PJ, and I was in class with Brian, who plays Brendan. So we were in an acting class. It's an acting class for acting professionals, you know, because most acting professionals, that's what we do. We lifelong learners, constantly learning, constantly training. There's a tip to anyone who, I always get the question, how do I get started? Go to class. Go to class. And that's not me saying you suck. That's me saying that's what you do. That's what we do. You got to go to class. You know, I've been training all my life and I still go to class. So I met PJ in class, the girl who plays PJ, and I was writing some of her stuff as far as growing back. So I write I don't know if you've seen 5 Heartbeats.
The 5, that's my favorite.
So you know how Duck has pieces of paper all over the room?
Yes.
That's how I write, okay?
Okay.
And it's like, all you gotta do is,
It makes sense though.
Because
he conceptualized his art, his songs. And so it does make sense.
All you gotta do is put this part with this part.
Right.
You know, I don't have a little sister to do that. It's God. Like, I have these moments where it's just like, this is the same thing, girl. And I'm like, oh, straight up. So I'm writing. I think I wrote most of Chase and Brendan stuff first. And I wrote the office scenes in spurts. But I met Jen and she started working. So in class, you get up and you present in front of everybody. It was acting for the camera class. So you record and then we talk about it. And I am just like in the back of the class holding in my laughs. Like I'm dying inside. Cause I'm like, I don't want to be that girl in the back going ham. And I go home and I finish writing those scenes. And I'm writing them as I'm thinking about her. And I said, oh man, that's my PJ. You know, that's what I said. I was like, this gotta be my PJ. The way she's inspiring me, this is my PJ. So the last day of class, we talking and we become friends during class, and we're talking. And I kind of come up to her like, yeah, I'm kind of doing this little thing. And, you know, you kind of inspired me to finish it. And I kind of wrote you, and I wanted to know if you wanted to do this thing with me. She's like, oh my God, of course I would love to do this thing, you know, with you. So that's how Jen came about. She actually, the character was originally just like pieces. I didn't even have an idea in mind as to who I wanted or what I wanted from the character. I just knew what Chase needed. You know, I knew the type of person that she needed to go on this journey with her. I just didn't have, it wasn't shaped. But when I met Jen, it just was like this whole like box of colors just opened up. And I'm like, that's my PJ. Like that's how, you know, that came about. And Brian was kind of the same way. You know, the guy who plays Brendan, his name is Brian. Shout out to both of them. And the whole cast. I just can't believe I got such great people to work with. Brian and I clicked in class, and we would just talk, and, you know, we would do this. And I shot my short film Positive first. And I was working on, you know, getting stuff together with Positive. Positive was written. I think I wrote Positive back in like 2020. And at least the action of Positive. Now the voiceover narrative that I'm speaking, I wrote that too. Like, people don't know I wrote that. Like, that's not me quoting somebody else's stuff. That was written a little bit later. But I went up to him and I said, hey, you know, you and I, we click. I have this thing, and I wanted to know if you wanted to be in this with me, you know? And he was like, of course, I'd love to do your short film or whatever. I said, well, he's not a great guy. He ends up being a bad guy at the end. He was like, no, I would love to work with you, you know? So we just worked so well together that day. Still to this day, I think Positive is my favorite because how much fun we had, even in the dark stuff that we had to shoot. I felt so comfortable working with him. Like, I felt so free as an artist, as an actor. You know, I felt when those scenes where, you know, we're playing and having fun and running and laughing. I remember Positive was accepted to a short film festival, and someone asked me, how did you laugh so real? Why did it look so genuine? I said, because we were really laughing. We were really having fun. We were really having a good time. So when it came time to shoot Growing Back, I didn't have an idea of what I wanted this character to look like. I didn't have this had to be a Black guy or this had to be a white guy. I didn't have an identity as far as race or stature or anything. I just knew this had to be a guy who was who he was, who had something going on where there was some manipulation, but then again, there are spurts, and you'll see in episode 3, you'll see some of the spurts of like, okay, maybe he wasn't always terrible. So there was no intention like, I need to make this a white guy so that we can say that white men are bad. No. No.
Okay.
No. No.
One of the questions is, was the interracial, the depiction of the interracial marriage, was that intentional? And that was a question that I personally had. So I thank you for kind of clearing up where the motivation behind that came from. And there was none, really. You just knew that you needed
a good actor. A good actor that I was comfortable with. Now, did I allow it to be something more? Yeah. At the end of episode 2, I say, Terrell said, so there's one of my favorite writers. He wrote the Brother Sister plays and Moonlight. Terrell said, in Moonlight, Black boys look blue. I always wonder what Black girls look like when blue boys forced them into the arms of pale men who fade their colors. And that was something that I literally just wrote on a piece of paper one day when I was sitting on the subway. I just wrote that because I've been having so many conversations with friends about switching teams and about, giving up on Black love and about, and my thing was always, hey, any lover can be a bad lover, regardless of race. A lover can be a bad lover. A good lover is a good lover. You want to look for good people. You want to look for somebody who's going to love you right. And that was a thought that I had in my mind, like, what is it going to look like when they find out that bad lovers exist within the white community as well?
Wow. Yeah.
So that's where that's a translation of what I said at the end. Like I always, yeah, I often wonder, what is it going to look like when Black girls realize that white guys can hurt your feelings too, can break your heart too. That's all that means, and I put that was after Brian had accepted the role, and we were like 2 days from rehearsing. I wrote that last scene, and through that, again, it was one of those, all you got to do is put this part with this part. I remember, I was like, I wrote that thing on the subway. Where is it? And I said, okay, I'm going to put this at the end. So no, was it intentional? No. Did I use it? Yeah. But it was never, it's not at all to paint that picture. Yeah. It's not at all to say that Black men suck, you need to date white guys, or don't date white guys, this was going to happen. That's not the PSA for this. The PSA is pay attention to the signs, that sometimes people will show you who they are if you're watching. That's the PSA, and that can happen no matter what race the person is or gender.
Yeah. So how and I'm really glad that you brought that to the forefront of, that it doesn't matter what race. There's people have issues, and people are struggling with trauma. People are going through healing processes, whether they're Black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter. So that's really, I think that is a really powerful message that you placed in your web series. And I was going to ask you about that quote. So I'm really glad that you, and I just thought that was so brilliant. I was like, wow. And I thought about it and I processed it for about about 5 minutes. It was so brilliant. Like, I said, this girl cold. So I'm really glad that you were able to tie that in. So that's really awesome. I want to know, on the set, and I think I try to kind of ask you this a little bit, but we went into something else. Given the racial climate, things that have taken place with the police brutality and the murder of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, how has that shifted, or has that changed the climate with those who you work with on set?
No, because they were with the Sheiks before everything went down. They are, especially Jen is very much so an advocate. She's been doing this, and Black Lives Matter, and she's been for us before it was cool, before people came out and said whatever. Sometimes I feel like she's more for the Sheiks than I am, So, and Brian's the same way. These are people who were like this before it was a trend, and those are the type of people that I look for to be in my life. I don't need a movement to want people around me who understands that my life is valuable. No, that's picking great friends. I don't pick people who, I have to dance around or pacify, or who don't have an understanding of my life as a Black person, who isn't trying to always be empathetic to my plight. I don't pick people like that to be in my life. I just don't do that, So when the tide turned, they were, you good? What's going on? You need somebody to march with you. You need some food. Have you eaten today? Jen is big on like, hey, are you taking care of yourself? Do I need to come down there? Do you need some groceries? Like, this ain't nothing new, not to them. You know, so no, nothing has changed because this is this is who they are in real life. You know, they're not putting on some cape or some whatever because of whatever. They, if anything, they're like, well, darn, I don't curse. My friend says I talk like a Disney princess. Like I have to be really in a space for me to drop a cuss word.
Okay.
But they like, well, darn, welcome to the party, everybody else. You know, they've been. No. So no, nothing has changed. You know, and I know for sure nothing will change because these are the people that I pick to be in my life. You know, I'm very strategic when it comes to, you know, who I have around me. And I think we all should be. And it's not even a no new friends. I love new people. I love people in general. I love being around people. But, you know, you gonna know that I'm Black, you know, and you gonna have to know that being Black comes with some things, you know, and I can't be around people who like, oh, well, I never knew that. It's like, no, you know, it's been a thing, honey, you know,
and
at least
see color and all of that. Yes. So
yeah, and even then, it's not even a you can't be in my life. It's like, you know, I don't know. There's a certain length you can only be, you know, just to protect me, because it hurts to hear stuff like that. I mean, just being real, a lot of people will not admit that, but it hurts to people. It hurts for me to hear people say, I don't see color. It hurts for me to hear people say, you know, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. You know, that hurts me. So I'm gonna just be real and I'm gonna be vulnerable and say, you know, I have to be selective when it comes to stuff like that, because I don't want to constantly be in a relationship where I'm going to get hurt by something that you are able to be naive about.
Indeed. Yeah. And that's so great that you have a tribe of people that you get to work with and also have a relationship outside of the workplace, where you know that they've got your back, that they're allies, and that you can call them and they will genuinely empathize with you and at least try to understand. So I'm really pleased to hear that. And so we're coming down to the final hour, final minutes of our interview. I've had such a great time talking to you. It just seems
I have to.
Yeah, it seems like we've been knowing each other for a minute, and you're just real cool and down to earth, and I'm so proud of you, sis. But lastly, I want to know, and your audience probably wants to know, or my audience wants to know, and those who are supporting you and listening to the podcast right now, what are some current or future projects you like people to know about?
Definitely look out for, I have a retainer, a newly put in retainer.
Okay.
So, so it's got my
on Zoom right now, and I can't even tell, but your smile is beautiful.
Thank you. It's got my speech all messed up, y'all. You know, so definitely look out for more episodes of Growing Back as COVID begins to stop doing its thing, or we learn how to work around it. I'll go back to shooting. There's a short film that I want to put out next year. So look out for more episodes of Growing Back this year. Episode 3 is going to launch pretty soon. So go to Audrey Jai, just type me into YouTube, Audrey Jai. I'm right there, JAI. Subscribe. I learned during COVID that you don't put out dates, because I try to be conscious of what's going on. You know, I had a deadline for, I'm going to launch the episode on this day, and then something extremely traumatic happened within the Black community. And I said, nope, now's not the time, you know, so just look out for it, y'all. It's coming. Episode 3, definitely. And yeah, and I'm working on a docuseries. I won't put out too much information about it, but it's a series of interviews. And you want to see this. You want to hear these interviews of these women. I think it's something that is important to me, and you know, I think it's something that needs to be brought to the forefront. And I won't give any more details about it, but just follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube page is the best way to find out. I mean, Instagram kinda. It's my IG is a little boring, so it's just pictures of me and my dog and my food.
And it's okay. That's all right. But
So
we can find you on YouTube.
yes.
And really, it's super easy to find. Growing Back, Audrey, Audrey Jai,
Mm-hmm.
correct? And she
Correct.
pops right up. So that we're really excited. Can I at least get the exclusive when the the docu series comes out?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Definitely, girl.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you, sis. You are just a breath of fresh air. I am so pleased that you are living out your purpose. You talked about purpose earlier, and that resonated with me. And so you are a Black woman who's living out her purpose, authentic with it, and you are unapologetically being who you are and living out your truth. And so I thank you from the bottom of my heart for being with us this evening or this morning, actually.
Yes. Thank you. I'm happy to be here, and the same for you. I'm so excited about what you're doing, and I love it. And I'm here. You got a sister in Chicago. I got your back.
Yes. You know, now don't say that because
Listen.
when everything kind of levels out and we can travel again and be secure in traveling, I'm coming to Chicago.
Come on, let's go get something to eat.
I
Come
can't
on.
wait. I can't wait. Chicago. Don't say that because I love food. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have a trip to Chicago coming up soon. To go see my sis Audrey Jai, and she has a docu series coming out. Episode 3 of Growing Back will be live soon on YouTube. You can also hit her up on Instagram, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It's the Audrey J, THE, my name again.
Okay. So yes, thank you again, sis, for coming on and blessing us with your sweet, sweet spirit. And we are going to go ahead and close this episode of Everything Culture. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, peace and blessings, fam. Thank you.
All right. Bye, girl. See y'all.
All right. Bye bye. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.